some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you want to be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up.
Welcome to Tales from the Field. My name is Bradley Ball, and we are back and better than ever. Last week, we were back with an Azure Data Community Roundtable, and then on Wednesday, we released Microsoft Fabric troubleshooting through mirroring in Azure using Azure SQL Database. 94% of the traffic is coming from search engines, which, I mean, if you look at that, I guess folks had issues, they needed help, and we are so happy. We hope we helped you out. Please make sure and leave a comment and let us know if there's anything that wasn't clear or if we helped you through a situation. There is so much to do, so much to see. You don't want to miss a thing. If this is your first time making it over to Tales from the Field, give us a like, give us a subscribe. We drop content typically on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Today is Tuesday. It is the Azure Data Community Roundtable. If you want to interact with the show, it is so easy to do. So all you have to do is make a comment on the stream, and one of my amazing co-hosts will see it and they will add it to the screen. Speaking of those amazing co-hosts, Dan the Mountain Man is out on vacation in the mountains this week. And then our own Aurelio Cardoso, our own Robin Hood, he is also out today. And that brings us to the man in the hat, Mr. Josh Luedeman, the best beard in the business, Mr. Andreas Padilla. And then the only thing better off than starting with a soundtrack of a good day with NFX or Greg Street and the Nappy Roots is starting off with this man. It is your friend and mine, Neeraj Jhaveri. Good day indeed to you, buddy. All right, a couple reminders real quick. You're here for the Azure Data Community Roundtable, and we want you to be involved in the Azure Data Community. So how do you do that? Well, you go over to the Microsoft.com site, set up for the Azure Data Community, find a local user group in your area. If you're a user group leader, make sure that you submit so people can find you within the search index. And we want you to be a part of that community. Many of us, we have our careers and we built it off interacting with those user groups, presenting at user groups, volunteering at user groups. And it is a wonderful thing for you to go and do as well. Well, next up, what do we want you to do after that? Well, we want you to get some free training. And where are you going to do that? No place better than SQLSaturday.com. We've got a couple of dates left before the end of the year, and we've even got the next SQL Saturday starting out in 2025 on the board with the BI and Data Analytics Edition in Atlanta in March. But coming up, we've got Victoria, we've got Oregon, we've got Belo Horizonte, Lima, Houston. Lots still on the target for the year. When you go there, you're going to find Microsoft presenters, MVPs, people who are top consultants in the field, people like you who are just active in the data community, showing up and sharing their knowledge absolutely for free. It is a wonderful, wonderful environment. And speaking of wonderful environments, where else do we want you to head for that free training? Well, we want you to go check out datasaturday.com, where we've got some wonderful events still yet to come for the end of the year. And then in January, we begin to kick off with Austria Day, January 24th, one day before my birthday. Wouldn't that be great going over to Austria to be able to enjoy that, followed by Denmark and Croatia. It's going to be a big year. We're wrapping up the end of this year. A lot of big things still to come. The PASS Summit is coming up next week. We've got Microsoft Ignite right before Thanksgiving, and of course, Live 360, which we're going to be getting to a little bit later in this broadcast. One last thing, if you're a fabricator like me and you're looking to increase that Microsoft Fabric knowledge, go and join our Microsoft Fabric Learning Group. We're there. The product group is there. You've got wonderful folks like Kevin Chant, wonderful content that you're going to see today in the blog that came from our LinkedIn user group. That was a lot. Andreas, how was your weekend? Talk to me, Goose.
I had pre-Halloween, just headaches. The kids crying. They were hopped up on candy. You know what I prefer to do? Hop them up on candy the night before, give them a hangover, and then send them to school. Let the teachers deal with it.
You're dealing with the kids hopped up on candy. Meanwhile, we went to Costco like on Friday and got a couple big bags of like the good stuff for handing out for candy. And I've already started in on the bag, and it shouldn't have been cracked for another couple of days. So, yeah.
Oh, I understand that feeling. So I learned something very interesting this weekend. So my daughter and her husband were in town visiting from New York, and one of the things, because she works as a child life therapist, in a big hospital up in New York. And one of the things she does is she works with parents, she works with kids. And I did not know this, but you know, up until 6 months of age, sugar is actually a natural pain reliever for babies from 0 months up to 6 months. And so when they give shots, only to 6 months. Because I said, when she said
it's
totally
a pain reliever, that as an excuse for why
I
so
thought
much candy is
jackpot.
gone.
I went, how long does this last? And she went 6 months. And I was like, carry the one. No, I can't clean that. I can't.
After that, you get diabetes.
Like you were going into that, and I'm going.
That's
I have
fair
an
point.
excuse for the rest of the candy.
Exactly.
This is great,
doctor. I know I'm diabetic, but hear me out. It's a pain reliever. Josh said I should trust him. He's a doctor, and I do. Yeah. I do. We're giving away nothing but full-size bar here at the Ball household. Last year, I was really smart. I bought them all, and I put them in a closet, and then I pulled them out at Halloween. This year, I set them down because Sue kind of controls that closet, and I expected her to put the candy bars away. Candy bars have been out the whole time. So I've had to repurchase multiple packages because people started tearing into the different candy bars. And we've got like a massive variety across the spectrum, everything from Ream Pops to Skittles to Starburst, to Hershey's to Kit Kat to, Snickers bars, all the good stuff, Reese's, all that. And after a while, I was like, well, I'm exercising a lot of self-control and nobody else is. So F it. I'm eating some candy. So yeah. I'm going with Josh's thing. Doctor.
Bucket. Well, I was going to say, when I've been getting into the candy bucket, Lisa goes to me. She's like, she goes, you want to show a little self-control? I'm like, I can't. I gave it all to Brad.
Thank you. And I gave it away at the first opportunity I had. I'm not sure if I threw it in the trash. I don't know if somebody wanted it, but it was like, don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. But speaking of good stuff.
Hold on, before we get going.
Okay.
The other thing is I want to give you an award because you, in today's intro, won the longest title award for what you gave as a title to Neeraj. I was trying to break in while you were doing it, but congratulations. There's no way anyone on this board is going to get longer than that. So,
I'm going to challenge you. My second link today, I think, is the longest title. It was an amazing article that a good friend of ours, Mark Price Mayer, did. And I'm very, very excited to get to it, even though it's completely undocumented and nobody should ever use this in production. Wait, I was supposed to wink with my other eye. Sorry. It's still undocumented and you should absolutely not do it in production. No, am I? Okay. But anyway, speaking of that good stuff, I can't wait to get to. Oh, go ahead, Neeraj.
The only reason you can win a long award is just because Marco is not here. I mean, the only person who can qualify is Marco.
To be fair, that's the only reason.
I think I would have given him a run for the money. We'll see when we get there. I'm gonna bring this up. We'll see. But speaking of good stuff, who's up first, and of course it's Mr. Good Stuff, Good Day himself, Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri, native execution engine available at no cost. I mean, look, I know it's at the end, but wow, no additional cost. You had me at free. Neeraj, what do we got going on here?
It's a Halloween gift for everybody. No additional cost. So, we just introduced the native engine, which is now supporting Fabric 1.3, Apache Spark 3.5, and Delta 3.2 in your data engineering and data science part of it. How do you activate it up? There's a screenshot showing you how to go into your admin portal and activating it up in your scenario. What is it compatible? If you go at the bottom, Brad, it shows you compatible with Apache Spark APIs and Scala. All of the details have been given up there. And then why enable it now? I mean, the reason he's putting it up together, saying you are definitely going to see a lot of cost for you to reduce just using the native Fabric connectors. So that is something that is definitely good for you to try it out. And it's no cost, which is the best part of it.
Absolutely. And we've talked about this a couple different times. This is such a great thing to be able to have in our toolbox, to be able to utilize, especially if you're using Spark workloads, to be able to increase this, to keep those capabilities going. Really excited to be able to
I also
see this
forgot there's a video. I forgot. There's also a video showing you up how to enable it out at the bottom. Sorry, forgot to do that.
Oh, yeah. It's our wonderful friends over at SQL Expresso. If you are not subscribed to SQL Expresso, you want to make sure. But this is coming straight from the product group, and they are looking at the native Spark execution engine. This is very exciting. I can't wait to go watch this myself. Because here's the thing, nobody can know everything. All of us have a unique point of view, and that unique point of view allows us to be able to learn and engage. And speaking of my favorite things in this world, it's not just you, Neeraj. It's Mr. Steve Hughes saying good morning. Steve, we love you. Great to see you, buddy. Thank you so much for joining us and hanging out, my friend. And what a wonderful way to be able to do that. The only thing I can think to segue is into something equally as wonderful, which is security and Microsoft Fabric. And I've got a newcomer. I don't believe we've had Sachin Nandawar on the blog before or on our podcast, but here he is, row-level security in Microsoft Fabric. And this is not as easy to test as it is in SQL because you've got to have multiple intra-logins to be able to validate how this row-level security works. And what I love is he gives the history. He talks about it coming in SQL Server 2016, talks about RLS in SQL Server, talks about the algorithms in place, what we can do. He does the setup, and then he does a great demo going through this. He's got wonderful scripts as well. And he does point out, hey, you've got to have multiple users with different permissions to be able to test this out. But then he goes through and he shows you, he's got some wonderful animated GIFs on here, the testing that he's doing to be able to make this work. So the great thing is the row-level security is in place. It is fantastic. Now, this Neeraj said this does not seem to be nearly even the longest title. I told you it's my second entry. I started out nice and easy, but I'm going to ramp this up. And speaking of ramping up, whenever I see a great article by this man, I can't help but sit there and think how it's going to ramp up my knowledge. And you know who I'm talking about. The brilliance himself, the best beard in the business, Mr. Andreas Padilla, GraphRag, a conceptual introduction. What have we got going on? Tell me more about GraphRag.
Well, great post by Jacob Porschman. Thank you for this peach of an article. Just to give you a little bit of context, I have more customers now asking me more about this, and they want, conceptual know-how. And, I've started introducing these concepts to more and more customers, and there's advantages and disadvantages. This is like, introducing Boba Fett Starship to my 7-year-old for his birthday this last week. Just gave him his first Starship. So he's like, what's this?
What a good dad. What a good dad. I mean, seriously, bringing in Boba Fett at 7. Well done, Andreas. I mean, that deserves a good dad golf clap.
I had to give him that. That was under the table covert shopping by good old dad. Anyways,
your mom.
what they do in this article, what Jacob does for us is he introduces to customers and to anybody out there who doesn't know about what the difference is between GraphRag and regular text to vector database retrieval. He talks to us about the differences. What are the advantages of doing text to vector base? But then he also tells us what are the things that might bog you down. What are some disadvantages? Embedded chunks and do not allow reasoning across documents. GraphRag lets us find build those relationships around documents and find which specific nodes and neighbors are, sort of connected or interrelated. But he does a nice job of explaining the pros and cons of vector databases and text to vector base RAG, the pros and cons of GraphRag. He explains to us the pipeline that usually you'll go through of, extracting the information from a doc, putting them in a GraphDB, then extracting the information with an LLM. But there are some drawbacks. Some of the drawbacks might be the prompting might be more time consuming, and it might be more cost you more money out of your pocket. Regardless, GraphRag does a great job of picking up where text to vector databases leaves off and helping us get deeper into the relationships between documents. Great post. If you guys want to get an intro with GraphRag, this is one of my favorites.
This is fantastic. I absolutely love this. And I love that it's there, that it gives us that overview, that it gives that comparison, because sometimes it's really easy to be able to mistake those two things together. Now, this next article, definitely when I saw it, I couldn't help but think this is potentially one of the longest titles that we're going to have this week. I still think it's a really good entrance in this. And it comes to us from the man with the golden hat on his head, who is Mr. Josh Luedeman. Now I'm talking step-by-step guide, building integrated custom package and ADF workflow orchestration manager. Still a mouthful, quite big. What do we got going on, Josh?
It's a mouthful, but before I get into it, this hat right here, the reason I wore it, this hat is for the Savannah Bananas. All right, they are not an MLB baseball team, lower leagues. If you're familiar with the Harlem Globetrotters in basketball, they are the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. Look them up on YouTube sometime after the show. Check out some of the stuff. They do some funny hijinks and stuff like that in a game of baseball. Great team. Even better than that, though, is this article from Sally. Sally is one of our teammates over in Europe, and she actually goes through and shot an arrow right into my heart, because she's looking at open source, specifically looking at using Apache Airflow as a part of ADF to orchestrate some code running. And in this case, she's actually going to use it to get some data from the GitHub API. She actually walks through creating your own custom package with Python and writing the Python code to be able to build the Airflow DAG, which is really the steps or the workflow that you want to operate, and then how to run that DAG in ADF Data Orchestration Manager, which is Apache Airflow as a part of, as a service within Azure Data Factory. She goes through even how to get some of the logs and monitoring, things like that. It's a great article, end-to-end, simple concept of what she's trying to do, but gives you a good, solid understanding of how to use Airflow within Azure Data Factory. It's a great article.
That is some absolutely fantastic stuff. Now, I do want to say I've got some folks here because we had an air conditioner unit go down over the over yesterday, and I've got folks coming in and they're fixing that right now. So if you do hear some noise in the background, please let me know. I'm going to try and stay on mute as we go. But this next man doesn't need me. He's already amazing, and of course, he's got an amazing thing to talk about. Of course, you know who I'm talking about. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri, usage reporting for Data Activator is now live. Go for it, Neeraj.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had customers asking me up saying, why don't we put the data activator units that are used in your capacity matrix? And now it is there in the capacity matrix. Data activator data would flow into that. The usage is based on the 4 meters, rule uptime per hour, event ingestions, event consumptions, and storage. These are the 4 factors that definitely comes into it. I mean, November 18th is when the data activator usage will start showing up in your thing and shown as non-billable because it's in preview right now. That's where it's going to show up. One other thing that the Kelly is putting in there is, if you want to go a little bit up, Brad, is what causes high nodes, right? And please note what volumes causes and what are the things that are causing you the CPU units to be there. So in the bottom where it says please note what causes the actual capacity units to be used up is shown in there. So that is something that you can read about it and make changes accordingly.
Great stuff, Neeraj. Absolutely love it. Okay, so next up, this is, in my opinion, what I thought would be the longest title this week, and this is the article I have, and it is a great one. Again, I'm about to say something that's undocumented, so you never want to use it in production, right? I'm winking with my left eye.
Hold on. Let me get my notebook so I can write the production job to do this. Hold on. I'll be right back.
Absolutely. Well, even better, you can copy and paste, because this comes from Mark Price Mayer, and our title is Workaround for Delays and Automatic Generating Schema in the SQL Analytic Endpoint of the Lakehouse in Fabric. I thought that was a pretty decently long title. Now, and Mark even says up front, let's get this out of the way. The following solution is unofficial, unsupported, undocumented, and frankly unwise. It's not supported by Microsoft or anyone else, so please reach out to Microsoft asking for help for this, because you won't get any. Why? Because the workaround relies on an undocumented API that could change or be removed at any point in time. That's why it's undocumented. So the key thing to understand here is, while this is going to be an amazing solution, this is also not something that we can recommend whatsoever. So if you do want to utilize this, you just want to make sure that you're really, really careful. So what this looks at is, Mark then goes into the issues that we have with synchronizing the lakehouse and the metadata. If you're working in a lakehouse and you've ever gone to a SQL Analytics endpoint and you see a delay, you're not alone. This is an issue because we have a Spark system and we have a SQL system. If I utilize things in the SQL warehouse, it transactionally commits it. It's got an adherence to ACID. It immediately shows up in that SQL Analytics endpoint. But on the lakehouse, we actually have to scan all that metadata and we have to flush it and refresh it. So what this does, what this code would do, is it can manually trigger the synchronization. There are situations, like during an ETL process, where you might need to force the synchronization to make sure everything is in sync before the job finishes processing. So that data would be discoverable by the SQL Analytics endpoint. So Mark has a notebook. And he says, and look, it's got the MIT license up front saying don't use it in production. There's no software warranty on this in any shape, way, or form. And he specifically did not make this adaptable. Now, people could go and they could clone his GitHub repo and they could make it easier to be able to parameterize and utilize. He didn't do that specifically because he wants you to have to work for it if you're going to do it. But what it does is it calls a specific undocumented API to be able to get the endpoint to be able to refresh. And here is the code for that. And again, no error handling. He didn't want it to be nice. And if people want to do it, here is the GitHub repository right down here. They could go and make a pull, and they could version this if they want to. But if you're looking for the capability to manually refresh SQL Analytics endpoint, this is a big deal. And it's a really amazing post. Maybe it's going to be a video at some point in time, but even if we do, we're going to have to flag this and say undocumented, unsafe. And the reason that we say that, because there's been a history of undocumented and unsafe things that we've done in production many, many times when it came to SQL Server, things of that nature. But it's key to know that if something is undocumented, Microsoft can change it, delete it, drop it, and we don't have to tell anybody. So that's the thing. If one day you just go and it stops working, that's where you want to be careful, depending on this too much for your production workloads. But if you find you do need functionality like this, where do you go to? You go to ideas.fabric.com. So that way I think it's ideas.fabric.microsoft.com. There's 3 or 4 dots in there. Anyway, Google it or Bing. Bing is fine.
Bingle.
Yeah. Go find it, put that in if that's the functionality you want, but it is undocumented and it is out there. And by the way, all the links to everything that we're covering is already in the description of the video. So if you want to go and you want to open up that description of the video, find these links, make sure and support these creators who are out there posting this wonderful stuff. But if you're looking for that API and that code, it is in the description of the video. Speaking of something that's amazing though, I always look to this man for insights. You know who I'm talking about. The one and only Mr. Andreas Padilla, unlocking insights, graph RAG and standard RAG in financial services. Andreas, I feel a pattern here. And I lost him. Oh, and he's back. Oh, there we go. Ooh. Thought that the AI took out Andreas again. But it let him back in real quick. That was solid. Oh.
A great another add-on great post. This one's by Shiva Paramisavam. Love this post. It builds on that last post that I just shared with you all. What I love about it is that he not only gives you some nice visuals and what the differences are from the standard RAG pipeline to the graph RAG pipeline, but the most important thing about this article is that he tells you, he's like, how to determine whether you should be using graph RAG in your use case and what kind of questions you should be asking yourself. Graph RAG is good for, getting information about customer relationships and detecting unusual risk patterns or transaction patterns or cross-selling opportunities. He'll go into like what kind of questions you should be asking for. That way you can make a determination of saying, do I really need to go graph rag, or can I stick to a more straightforward approach that with just normal standard rag? Great article. Just make sure to remember that you're going to incorporate a step that says defining your use case for determining whether to use one or the other. That should be an added step now in your Gen AI pipeline.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That is a step, which makes it really key and very critical for us to understand how this is going to be utilized. All right. Last but not least, and again, a potential longest name candidate, no matter what. And I saw some chatter about that. Neeraj said, I think this Josh missed by a character. You could have added a pineapple to it. Josh reacted exactly how I expected him to. And he said, as long as you're not adding it to delicious, fantastic pepperoni pizza, I'll be fine, which is fine. I'll do that for Josh. Even though Neeraj said adding pineapple was banned by Brad's superpower.
I love that.
I don't know what superpower that is, because my superpower is adding pineapple to pizza. And yeah, and Josh, you know me so well. You knew that was exactly where I was going.
I knew you so well that you're a terrible person because you love pineapple on pizza. All right, this great article we've got today is from Ed Lima over on the Fabric blog, and it's about adding more flexibility to your business applications with support for service principal names, SPNs, in Fabric API for GraphQL. I want to thank Ed for putting SPNs in parentheses, because I'm pretty sure those were the characters I needed to kick Brad's butt. All right. This is a great article because what Ed actually does is shows and walks through using service principal names to support for API for GraphQL in Fabric, so that you can use an application service principal to access the GraphQL in Microsoft Fabric using one of these service principals. Add them to your security groups, so you're able to automate data access through that way. He goes through the the client apps and the integration with Entra, and then even some sample code that he uses to actually get ahead and make the connection and things like that using that, and then actually uses a GraphQL query that he wants to execute, shows how to connect it to the endpoint, all in Python, which I believe it was Python. No, it wasn't. Node.js. Sorry. I was going to say, I'm like, wait a minute. I thought it was Python, but that's not Python. But he uses Node.js to go ahead and connect with GraphQL and Fabric, and it's a great article. I love it.
That is a fantastic article. I really, really enjoy it. So there's so many wonderful things. That is the content for this week. Thank you to all the creators who produce these blogs, produce this content for us to be able to highlight. And again, all of this is in the description of the video. So if you're looking for any of this, please open it up. Please give them some clicks and go and open up their links. And
I almost thought you were going to say, please give them some kibble. And I was like, what? Thank God you're giving them clicks and not kibble. We don't want to give them kibble. They deserve good food.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I haven't had that since I lost my last dog. So yeah, no kibble in my house.
But you actually had the kibble when you had a dog?
No, well, I mean, puppies a long time ago.
I mean that fits.
Like
that fits. You ate the kibble when you had a dog
channel.
Because you like pineapple on pizza. I mean, it makes sense.
I don't even know how we got here. Josh is coming back from Jamaica and his brain is all scrambled. That's okay. He's been in Margaritaville just a little too long, but we appreciate you.
Who said I love
and your pineapple colored hat. Now I think this is the tail end of the show. So there's only one thing left for us to plug by the end of the year. This next Monday or this next week, I think it's Wednesday. Actually, I've got to sit down and confirm the date. But I believe we're going to have our last Know Before You Go for Live 360 with the Visual Studio team. Actually here in just a couple weeks, we're going to be at Live 360. We've got 2 different pre-cons. We're going to start out on Sunday with a hands-on lab for Microsoft Fabric. On Monday, it's myself and Dan and Thomas Rock and anybody else who'd like to show up. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be covering database watcher performance tuning and how you store that data in Microsoft Fabric, and also how you can utilize it, how it's your data and you can put community scripts against it, including utilizing T-SQL because it's a KQL database, and you can do that in Microsoft Fabric. And Josh, where are we going to be when we do this? Give it to me quickly.
Oh, we're going to be at the beautiful animated Live 360 conference on the luscious grounds of the Lowe's Royal Pacific Resort in beautiful, sunny Central Florida.
Absolutely. There's no other place that you
Luscious.
can be at this time of year. The luscious grounds. We've got, bacon maple donuts over at Voodoo Donuts. We've got the Hulk going off in the background, the Dr. Doom ride. We are sitting there at the Lowe's Royal Pacific Resort. You're a quick walk or a boat ride away. Go ahead, Neeraj.
I think Andreas is going to Ignite, right, Andreas?
I'm going to be Ignite. I'm
Same
going to be
week?
talking about data analytics deployment best practices.
Ooh, there we go. Okay, so no matter where you go north to Chicago, you come south to Florida, we have you covered with Tales for the Field. Make sure and find us and get some stickers. Andreas, I'm going to get your address. I'll mail you some of these. So you've got them for a giveaway
I'm
up in
fresh
Chicago.
out. I need some mud.
There you go. Absolutely. What a great time of the year to be able to interface with us right before the holidays. We're having a good time over here, and we hope that you can join us. Gentlemen, anything else we need to cover?
The only thing better than holiday fruitcake is us. So come see us right before the holiday.
I need a lot of whiskey to wash down that fruitcake. Maybe whiskey and a little bit of eggnog, enough that the cake starts tasting good.
Only the good
All right.
eggnog too. Not just the stuff out of the fridge. The stuff out of the fridge with a little something extra.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Josh has got a little something going on. We hope you have a wonderful day out there. As always, be good to one another and take care. For Josh Luedeman, Andreas Padilla, Neeraj Jhaveri, I'm Bradley Ball. Thank you so much for joining us on Tales for the Field. Be good to one another. Goodbye, everybody.
When I'm lost.
Bye.
Yeah, so I'ma fake it till I make it. Positive thoughts are overtaken. I got patience. One day